Setlist number 9. And Kaleb's here with me. We're gonna talk for an hour, cause that is adequate time. You and I know, we're not alone. Such a pretty song, and it's just the way that it slows down. Welcome to the Setlist episode 9. I am here by myself today. Mr. Producer Man is on assignment, finding another couch to live on. He needs a little bit of an upgrade. Be it popular demand or be it most guests that we have on afterwards, coming on to like the last question I always ask, like who are people that you would like to see? And I would say probably 50% of the time this person comes up. So it's like, well, he has to be in the rotation. The forever champion of Michael Jackson trivia, that is one Kaleb Koho. Good to have you here.
I'm excited to be here. I'm surprised so many people have asked me to be on. I feel like I'm like when you list the people in the community who like know music, I'm probably in the top 10, but like it's like I would feel like there's a lot more people who are like music like known for in this community before you get to me.
It's grown a lot since we started. Like back in the day, it was like you, Jim, Chance, friggin' like Cody popped in there for one match, and then it slowly kind of built from there. And like since then, like I've always kind of wondered like if jukebox was still a thing nowadays, because you'd probably have like your Andrews, your Kellys, you'd probably have you'd probably have like Payson, Cameron Holtz might
I would kill for Payson to play jukebox trivia. Like I want to play Payson in jukebox trivia, like so bad. Like we'll call that a call out. Well, if we ever bring the trivia back for a single game, I want to play Payson more than anything.
I've had a couple of ideas, just kind of like sitting on the back burner, wondering if it would work. But yeah. So for those who haven't watched the show before, how it works is I ask the guests the same 10 questions. That way you're in the know for the next time that you hopefully check in. Also, since we are on the video store, I should probably do this as just a sign of good faith. You're here somewhere. Where are you? Buy our shit. It's a nice quality. It doesn't shrink too much. But yeah,
get a size up. That's perfect.
All right, on to question number 1. Koho, who is your favorite artist to the surprise of nobody?
To the surprise of nobody, if you were to say you get to pick one artist that you have to listen to all their music for the rest of the time, the answer is Michael Jackson. He is my favorite artist of all time. He is a musician who transcends just being a musician to me. He can create music that sounds incredible. He creates very like catchy songs with great lyrics, but he's also just one of the most prolific entertainers in the history of music. He puts on a show and he never accepted anything less than his very best. And that is something I take personally with me is like the biggest thing to learn from Michael Jackson is to put your everything into giving a good show. And I would say that is probably the biggest thing I've ever taken away from him. I think every album he makes is this incredibly unique work of art. And a lot of people write him off as, king of pop and pop music, but it's more than pop music. Like his music goes beyond the transcended label of pop. He's just the king of music.
Pop, I would say, is the overlying arc. He is the king of pop R&B, like synth pop in particular. A really good user of like orchestral vibes whenever he needs to. But yeah, just a hard worker. Be it some let's say some aggressiveness from his dad. It's kind of a source there. But yeah, like obviously starting off with the Jackson 5 and kind of getting to grow up in the entertainment industry and with his brothers and whatnot. But you have this interesting little era, like after the Jackson 5 and even the Jacksons, like whenever they stayed on as an adult group, he still had a couple of like solo albums to come. Starting in 1972 with Ben, in 73 with Music and Me, and then I think this is kind of the turning point where we really get to see where Michael's going in 1975 with Forever Michael. But of any of the songs to kind of check out are the ones that I really enjoyed. I was listening to music and me on a walk, and man, Up Again is just a fucking bop.
Right.
This is a really good one to kind of check out from there. But yeah, like you hear from Forever Michael on like We're Almost There, you hear the kind of like just the bent up angst that's starting and it's brewing and that is eventually going to turn into greatness.
Yeah, I've always figured his solo stuff while still being with the group to be very basic. Like I almost disqualify that for Michael Jackson's discography because it feels like songs that aren't quite the vibe of the Jackson 5 but are still very much Jackson 5 adjacent music. So he's just basically taking cuts from them that he wrote for them and they're like, no, we don't like it, and doing it on his own. I think the best song he has in that era isn't even a song he wrote. It's his cover of Rockin' Robin from Gotta Be There. Like I just think
that's pretty fair, yeah.
I think that's probably the best thing he does solo while still being with the Jackson 5. And like that's no shot at him. It's just a lot of that music is a little bit simple. Which there's nothing wrong with simple. It's just you can just hear it in all of it. It all kind of feels a little samey, a little bland, with the exception of Ben, which I can't believe he's not listed as part of the Oscar nominees for that song. I can't believe he wouldn't have won an Oscar if it had won, which is crazy because it's his song. But
yeah, man, it's yeah.
Only one man can make a love song to a rat sound like a fucking banger. Let's just put it like that.
All right, and then yeah, after that, this might be a freezing cold take, but I would say that his next three albums are the best three albums that you could have in Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad. I think the order obviously would be, I would say, Thriller, Bad, and then Off the Wall. Although I fucking really adore Off the Wall. It has like, for that album to start with, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, which I think is a song that's like people often kind of put in the B tier of Michael, but the diehards such as yourself and others is like, no, like this is like a top 3 all time Michael Jackson song.
I wouldn't put it in my top 3, but no, I would say it's definitely one of the best hits he has. It's a great vibe. I think Off the Wall is a really special starter record in the sense of like when he's finally solo and this is what he cooks up with Quincy Jones and this is like the disco inspired pop music of the day, and you get things like Rock With You, Working Day and Night, which is my favorite off that one. You get She's Out of My Life. Just so many great ones that come out of that. That is different than anything else he had made on his own up to that point, or better than even the stuff that he had with the Jackson 5 up to that point when you have, when you can factor in Blame It on the Boogie. Like a lot of stuff like that feel prototypical, and he gets Off the Wall and it feels like a fully formed artist has appeared. And then to take something that is as fully realized and special as Off the Wall and unique as Off the Wall, and to go in a totally different direction and make the greatest album anyone has ever made in their entire life, a perfect 9-track record of 9 bangers in a row. And then to top it with an 11-track album, which only has maybe debatably 1 skip on it, like that's a perfect 3-album run that no one will ever replicate again.
Yeah, I I remember throwing on Bad at work, and just like you don't realize how many radio hits there are on here. Like I thought Man in the Mirror was a lot later, but no, this is from that album, as well as like Dirty Diana, Smooth Criminal, and Leave Me Alone. Like those are the last 3 tracks to end this record.
And that's not even counting the things on there like The Way You Make Me Feel, which is like an all-time favorite for me. I Just Can't Stop Loving You. Like that album has no skips except maybe debatably 1. And like even then it's like that's just do you like the song or not? Like,
yeah, The Way You Make Me Feel. There was actually a band here that covered it. It was a girl singing it with a guy doing like backup vocals on the guitar work. It was such a fun song just to kind of like sway your head to. It's nice whenever they kind of hit that same vibe.
Yeah, I think the secret recipe to those 3 being great too is Quincy Jones producing all 3. Like to have Quincy Jones come on with Michael and make those 3 records together, and you got Rod Temperton writing the songs with them. Like that's the trio that makes Michael Jackson Michael Jackson. It's Michael's incredible creative mind, the ear he has, and the showmanship he has. Quincy being the guy who can guide what he wants to being a thing, and Rod being able to come up with lyrics that fit that music. And those 3 making like just Thriller alone, but then also looking at Man in the Mirror and Off the Wall and all the songs that come in between there as well. It's just nuts. And like the amount of, I think Thriller is also the most expensive album ever made because they recorded like over 100 songs in that session and he threw out 91 of them. Like he threw away almost every song they wrote because it wasn't ready. And that's where you get so much music later. It's like his vault still has, I think, upwards of 1,000 songs we've never heard that are fully recorded and ready to be released. And his estate's just like, nah, we can make $1 billion for life, but we're just like, nah, he doesn't want it.
No. One day somebody's gonna be rich enough and they're like, nope, I'm gonna buy these and it's all gonna come out.
It's gonna happen. Every 10 years, we're gonna get a posthumous record from Michael with like 12 songs that we've never heard before, mastered by whatever. Like, I guarantee you, in like 3 or 4 years, Phineas O'Connell's gonna have enough clout to do a mix of a Michael Jackson song, and it's gonna be the coolest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I hope he doesn't get like the TikTok sort of treatment where people discover him there and it's like, oh man, like cause of only his posthumous work. I just always worry about how the next generation is going to discover our favorites. It's like, listen, until you had a CD in your Walkman listening to fucking history, you can't say that you were there.
I just don't see the TikTok generation like not know. I feel like it's weird. It would be weird. I was young enough that like when I was like 10 when Michael died. So Michael's death was enough to make an impression on me. Not enough, not to the effect of my parents, but enough to still make an impression on me. My sister was 5 when he died. She does not know what it was like to be around when Michael Jackson was around. So like for her in the TikTok generation, to me, it's not that Michael Jackson is an artist and that Michael Jackson is like a controversial figure to them and they don't really know anything else about it, which is unfortunate because, I hope that this Broadway musical they just did kind of re-inspires people to rediscover Michael Jackson, like as if he needs it, but like,
no.
It gets people like interested in going back and revisiting Michael Jackson music because like that, I haven't listened to this musical album and I'll be honest, I don't really want to. I'd rather see it. Because I've heard it's
absolutely,
experience, but like, it's the closest you're ever going to come to seeing a Michael Jackson concert these days, and that's why I really want to go see it.
So. Pretty well. What are you talking about? You didn't want to go to those holographic experiences that like they could probably like pull off now for like maybe $10.
Well, that was the coolest thing ever when you're 16, 15 years old watching the MTV Awards and Michael Jackson is performing a song that he has never sang live before. And you're like, how is this happening? It was weird. I still don't know how they did that.
Dang. So yeah, then his next like real album was Dangerous in 91. You have a couple of good ones on here. Will You Be There, Black or White, Heal the World, Remember the Time. But I think there's a lot of this album kind of gives into the angst that was happening in the 90s, and you can just feel that like even extra on this. How do you feel about like 90s era Michael?
So I think 90s era Michael doesn't sniff 80s era Michael because I think he feels like he has a chip on his shoulder and a lot to prove, despite having already been the greatest artist of all time, 3 albums deep. I think he always wanted to top himself as the top selling artist, and like Bad didn't do it. And like, if he wasn't going to do it with Bad, he was never going to do it again. And I think he knew that. And then like Quincy left, and without having Quincy and Rod with him, I feel like he was like, I have a lot to prove. And he went overboard and made like an overly long record in Dangerous that is super hit or miss. That I think has like, I think Black or White's fun. I don't think it's one of the best songs he has. I think Who Is It is great, but also like the issue with that song is that it is way too long. When you do the 7-inch edit, it's a perfect song. But the rest of it it just goes on way too long. Remember the Time is good. Keep It in the Closet is good. Like, I feel like there's some good ones on there, but I don't feel passionately about anything on there that is like too insanely great, except for like maybe Black or White and maybe Who Is It? And like that's the thing that lets me down with Dangerous.
So the thing that I realized more and more with Black or White, because there was a time like that was on, and I was like, I want to cover this and see how it goes, but like he isn't really in it a ton. It's a lot of production, and then I'm not even sure of the name of the rapper who comes in. That'd be a good question. That's a solid fucking. That's a 12 pointer there.
That's the thing that's fun with Dangerous also is that he brings in a lot of rap and a lot of hip hop, and that's I love that Michael never stopped trying to take the new things and incorporate them into what he's doing and like push himself to make something different. And that I respect a lot of the things he does on Dangerous. I just don't think it works. And I think that happens a lot with the 90s Michaels. He's very experimental, but the experiments don't work as well as the 80s experimental Michael does.
He will.
Dangerous doesn't work.
He will always be the one to not necessarily be the one to push the bar, but the one that will push the bar the furthest, and what like everyone else will kind of see what's happening. And I think that's even prominent to this day. Like when you look at his later work, we'll talk about that onwards. But then you get into fucking history in '95, which is like greatest hits, and then some other songs.
I've always wondered what book 2 was going to be, because History of the World, past history, past, present, and future, book 1 is a very interesting experiment of a half greatest hits and a half new, and I don't like most of the new. I think that's another one where like a lot of the ones that are on there aren't that great. Like they don't really care about it. It's great. I think that one's awesome. And I think the one that he does with Janet, Scream, is not good. I think that's a bad hit.
So imagine a 6-year-old Brooklyn watching Much Music, the Canadian version of MTV, and the first time that you see Michael Jackson in a music video is for Scream. And you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? Coming back to it now, it's a fucking bop of a song, but it's like, why was this? Why were the 90s the 90s? And why do I still defend them?
But also the one you were singing for the intro, even You're Not Alone. I think that's one of the best songs he has in his career, and that's just hiding on at the end of History. And I think that's crazy. That's like those second and Earth songs tucked away on History. Like there's some really good ones that are just hidden away on the backside of History. But then you also have like Too Bad, which I think is like the worst attempt at recapturing anything he has ever done.
Oof. And so then after that, then
One of the next
One of the Dance For.
Which is half remix and half original with only 2 good songs on it. Like,
yeah, I forget if this is the one. No,
that's Ghosts. That's the one that Stephen King wrote the music video for him for.
Oh shit! Cool.
Yeah.
I just see the album cover here, and I'm wondering if that was the one where they're in. He had like a. I'm not sure if it's. Yeah, I'm not sure if it is Ghost, the video itself, where he's wearing like the white suit and the fedora, and that's like the first one that they do the lean in.
That's later. That's the music video for Smooth Criminal, which is never actually officially a music video. That is a full segment in Moonwalker in '88. That is
shit! They just
that they
verbatim.
shot a set piece for Moonwalker, which a young Kaleb Koho would have used to say was his favorite movie of all time. That is a full segment in that movie that has been since clipped out as the official music video, where they create the lean and the look because it's just so iconic. That's why you have random kids watching him and running through, and a weird Joe Pesci guy bursting at the end. It's because it's ripped directly out of that half music video montage, half plotless Michael Jackson sci-fi action film called Moonwalker.
Man, that would be that'd be good. That'd be an interesting one to bring up for Roundtable. Be like, hey,
if Cody asks me back, my goal on Roundtables to consistently bring movies that I like or I have nostalgia for that piss everyone else off. Because I did Eurovision Song Contest, which is a movie I genuinely love from 2020. Like that's one of my like pandemic jams.
So I tend to agree with everybody else that was on the panel at that time. Rachel McAdams and Dan Stevens are fucking awesome. Even Pierce Brosnan is great. But like, what the fuck is Will Ferrell doing? And I love
Will Ferrell's given the best performance of the decade that he's had, man. That's his best performance in a decade.
I mean, when you're putting it up against like Holmes and Watson and like
exactly, that's what I'm saying. He's been bad for a decade. The last good performance he had before that was freaking Megamind. So you're like, it's the best he's been. Megamind.
You don't think Lord Business was like a good performance in that realm?
It's forgettable to me. Like I think he's fine.
Yeah, okay, I see that. So then we get back on track here. 2001's Invincible. This is a fucking bop and a half. This is like everything 2000s R&B, like the slick guitar, strings became really prominent in here. I really like the sound of the snare on this album. Like it's very like they're kind of hitting the block, they're hitting like the edge of it, so it doesn't have like a super loud kind of bang to it. It's just very like it's very slick and it's very Michael, I would say.
It's Michael's final hurrah in the best way. In many ways, this is the definition of who Michael Jackson is as an artist. He defines the 2000s in 2001, and everyone else chases the sound he creates on Invincible. You Rock My World is the last hit he has before he dies, and it is one of the best he's ever had. Heartbreaker literally invents dubstep. Michael Jackson literally invents dubstep 10 years before it comes out on Heartbreaker, and it is nuts. If you've never heard Heartbreaker, people listening, stop what you're doing, listen to Heartbreaker. The first 45 seconds, you're gonna think you're listening to Bangarang. It's like it's little dubstep 10 years before dubstep. Michael was a pioneer and a visionary way beyond his years, and Invincible is a great final album that gets so much hate for no reason.
I kind of overlooked the first 45 seconds of that. I had this on at work today while I was getting ready. But yeah, this and 2000 Watts was the other one that I really enjoyed. That's another overlooked one.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, and then there isn't really a ton afterwards, but the one that we have to talk about like posthumously, and the one that I think got you to tell me on a show, hey, this song is one of the best summer songs. And I'm like, Caleb, I don't believe you. And then I listen to the song and it's like, nope, Caleb, you have a fucking point. It's the fucking Escape album. And I believe that this album in particular is still influential to this day, and kind of what I was referring to earlier. In that they're taking this backlog of the songs, and then they're just adding on them and producing it to his style, and even with this, even in this style, like he still sounds fine. Like if he was alive today, he would this would probably be the sound that he's going for, and it just fits. But like you see now with like Elton John and like Britney Spears, like they're kind of revitalizing those songs. So it's like Michael's kind of doing this now, and he's doing it pretty good. Obviously, we were talking already about Love Never Felt So Good. But the one that I really enjoy in this is A Place With No Name, because it kind of covers A Horse With No Name, but also gives it like a little bit different.
Change the lyrics.
Change the lyrics and change the tempo a little bit. But man, this album was really cool to check out.
Escape is my third favorite Michael Jackson album. I think Escape is so slept on, and it is packed full of some of the best songs in Michael's career that no one took the chance to listen to outside of Love Never Felt So Good because it had Timberlake on it. Like, I think Blue Gangsta is like a sequel to Smooth Criminal in such a great way. I think you have Chicago, which is just such a great vibe. Loving You is a great sit-in on a rainy day song. Escape, the title track, just sounds like it came off of Bad. It just feels like such a celebration of Michael's career in such a big way, where you just have so many great songs through it. Slave to the Rhythm, I think, is the best song on it. I think Slave to the Rhythm is genius. A great final 2-act hit of Slave to the Rhythm and Love Never Felt So Good for Michael. I'm glad we're just skipping over Michael, because the album Michael is it's bad. It's the worst thing they ever did. It has 2 good songs on it in Hold My Hand and Hollywood Tonight, and the rest can all burn in hell, because some of them aren't even Michael Jackson. Like, some of them are Michael Jackson impersonators. Like, you can literally listen to the album and do track by track listens, and he doesn't sound the same song to song sometimes.
It's also it's only fucking 7 songs. Like,
exactly.
People gave me shit for having Tarzan as a favorite soundtrack, given it being only 6 tracks. But yeah, this is a couple of EPs.
It's literally, Michael is 7 songs, and I think he sings 3 or 4 of them. The other ones are all impersonators. And you're like, why did you not just get... Michael recorded it, so why do you need an impersonator to do it? Because it sounded more like Michael, and then it doesn't. Michael is bad. Michael is a really bad album. And I'm glad they made Escape, which is a much more fitting tribute finale to his career. And I would love for them to do this every 10 years, You get like not you take 9 songs out of the vault, you give it each one to a different producer, and you let them go. Like give Jack Antonoff a Michael Jackson song, give Phineas O'Connell a Michael Jackson song, give Illmind a Michael Jackson song, and just see what they can do with it.
Well, like, give them the whole like restoration vibe that they did with Elton John. Like if you did country, like you wouldn't necessarily have to do country covers, but just let artists working today be like, hey, interpret the song however you want.
I would kill to hear Phineas O'Connell's version of a Michael Jackson song. I know I've said it like twice now, but literally Phineas is the best producer working today, and to see him do a Michael Jackson track, Michael would have called him and said, I want to do a full album with you if he met him today. Like Michael work. They have such similar vibes that if you just put them together, that's magic. I just think that needs to happen. But I would love that every 10 years if they just gave 9 producers 9 songs and said, make an album. And every decade we get a new Michael Jackson album, because you could do that for the rest of time and not run out. He has so much unreleased material.
Yeah, that would be an interesting reality show where it's like you give producers like one like just even one of the songs, and it's like make the best beat, turn this into best of gold as you can. But yeah, like people will say that he's kind of overrated or overappreciated, but overall an incredible performer that gave 100% the entire time.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, on to question number 2. More so to settle a debate between Andrew and I. What's your favorite song to dance to?
My favorite song to dance to, weirdly enough, this was a hard one to think, but whenever I was in high school, went to high school dances, the one that would come on and I would instantly drop everything and dance is Yeah by Usher. That was always a favorite of mine.
Damn right it is.
I love that song. I think that's a great song to dance to. I don't know. I can't explain it. Like, this is a hard question to answer in terms of like what makes you dance or why you want to dance to it, but like it just does. It's just my jam. It comes on the dance floor and I'm going. So
yeah, so this came on during the junior high like sock hop dances or whatever. They'd throw on this fucking like Lipso Angel, whatever. But what I will say is great about the song, and I think what the casual audience will tend to overlook is that this is a great fucking beat by Lil Jon. And I know people kind of give him a lot of like slack for like kind of this his loud tendencies or whatever, but he's actually like an incredible music mind in terms of just making catchy ass beats. Also, I think this is the song that made me fall in love with Ludacris in terms of his delivery and whatnot, and how he's able to kind of control the pace of it all. Just so much charisma and swag in his verses.
Definitely. I just think it's fun. I don't know. I think songs can be fun and don't have to mean anything and still be good. So that's just something I say the same thing about movies. I think that you can have fun, frivolous, mindless blockbusters as long as you're having a good time at the movies, you know.
Absolutely. All right, next one. Your favorite song on the current top 500.
Oh, I have to go back and look at what my answers were because this is the part where I'm like, what was my answer?
It was number 3 on. It's number 3 on the current list.
Number 3 on the current list. Wow. Let me go back and recheck. I'm gonna bring these up so I don't look embarrassing now. So I don't forget. Oh yeah, Change is gonna come by Sam Cooke. Oh yeah, I think that's one of my favorite songs just ever. I have a friend that I met through karaoke. His name is Devin Newton. He's the best voice I've ever heard in my life. Just genuinely the greatest singer I've ever heard in my life. And he has songs that he'll do and he has songs that he won't do. And it took me a while to get him to do it, but he did this song at karaoke and I was legitimately crying. It's an incredible. This song's incredible to me. It's so powerful. My favorite version has always been Leslie Odom Jr.'s cover. Like since I heard it, I mean the original by Sam Cooke's the great, but like since it came out, Leslie Odom Jr.'s cover is my favorite. I think he just does such great things with it. My friend Devin loves the Seal version. It's the one he'll perform is the Seal version. But like I think no matter what version or what interpretation you have, this song is just so moving and powerful. Just the message behind it, but also just the music itself, and the lyrics that it has, and the way each artist approaches it. I love that Sam and Leslie both go up, like they go up to the high note, and then just bring it back down quiet. And I love that it's just such a loud opener for a song that is just like a reminder. It's like a powerful reminder, and that opening starts out like a battle cry. I think the song's great.
Yeah, no, I really like the production in this, in particular, like when you get into that chorus and you hear the strings, because I feel like there would be a natural tendency to kind of just ramp them up with him as he's going, but they're so controlled and knowing when to kind of pop in when he's like kind of taking these breaks and whatnot. But I think it's just yeah. It took me a while to get onto it. I wasn't a fan of this initially. I thought it was a little too high. But yeah, it's grown on me like a bunch of other songs, and I'm glad because it's pretty. But we'll go on to question number 4. Your favorite concert. And I'm jealous for this one.
So my favorite concert, this is gonna be a half cheat because it was a 2-night endeavor. I bought these tickets right as the pandemic hit. Like, it was announced the pandemic hit like 3 weeks later. And so I waited 2 years for them to come to the XL Energy Center on the reunion tour. It was My Chemical Romance. And they came to St. Paul, Minnesota, the XL Energy Center. And about 2 months out from that show, another tour was announced that would be in the day before. And I went, there's no way. I can't not see my 2 favorite bands back to back. So I saw Panic at the Disco on Wednesday on their final Viva Las Vengeance tour, and My Chemical Romance for their reunion tour the next night at the same place. It was the best 2-night endeavor of my life. So like I got to see Brendan Urie live, and I didn't know that was going to be my last opportunity to do it. I just wanted to go see it because I hadn't gotten a chance to, and I'm very happy I did because he was terrific. He talk about showmanship. Brendan Urie puts on a show. But then you want to talk about a show. MCR comes back the next night and does 20 to 30 songs that are not the ones I expected they would do, and I was so happy. My favorite My Chemical Romance song is Boy Division. They did Boy Division halfway through the show, and I would have never expected it. They did like 2 or 3 off the Black Parade, which I think is the second best album ever made. They do like 2 or 3 off that. They do a couple off of, Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge. They do a lot off of Danger Days, weirdly enough. I think they really like Danger Days. And they did a lot of Conventional Weapon singles, which was really cool. But they start with their new one, the Decay one. And it was really creepy and really fun to watch live because that you can clearly see their idea. It's a concept tour, and no one would realize it until you see it. So literally they go through their entire their discography and the hits and the things. Then each song they pick is deliberate in telling a new story with old material. Full on with Gerard Way doing interstitials where he's talking as the different characters he plays on each album. It's incredible stuff. So he starts that album off with a new character and that new song, which works as an intro to be like, Decay, we're in a post society. Let's go into the past, retreating into the past. And the past is all the different songs and albums they've done and the different characters he plays, and he portrays them in full, doing full little interstitials in their voices. And it's great. It was a great show. The coolest thing I've ever seen is summertime. The entire stadium was lit up by cell phone lights. They full on turned the power off, like in terms of lights. And it was bright as day in there because everyone had their cell phone lights sold out. It was really cool. Welcome to the Black Parade was literally a bucket list thing to see them do it live.
Yeah.
I'll never top that. That's a band that I never thought I'd get to see live because I was 13 when they broke up. And then here I am at 22, going on 23, almost 10 years later, and I got to see them live with my sister, who had also never got to see them live, and is just as big a fan as I am, and that was the greatest experience of my life.
I really appreciate Gerard Way as a vocalist. There was a tribute band of theirs a tribute band that played here like a couple years ago all the time. And the vocalist would often kind of give out near the end because of how much strain it takes to play all those songs, and for him to kind of not only blast through it, but capture all of the characters that he has throughout the tour is just fucking cool.
It's also crazy because every album he does has a different distinct vocal style for each character. So he's doing no one gives him enough credit. Everyone thinks if people think Gerard Way sounds bad, then they're not listening to Gerard Way because his voice is so unique that it's almost inimitable. You could literally kill your own voice trying to do that. Cancer is so hard to sing like him. You almost have. It's why 21 Pilots changed the song entirely to cover it because you can't sing it like him unless you have his vocal patterns and his like vocal chords, because they're just different.
Were there any bands or any artists that opened up before them, and if there were there any that kind of caught your eye?
Panic had a couple of people. He had a TikTok girl come out. I don't remember her name. She's big on TikTok, I guess. She was okay. But MCR was touring with Tuesday, which was another one of the MCR era pop punk bands. They didn't take off like they did, but they were always good friends, and Frankie Arrow often played with them. So Frank played guitar for their entire set, and Gerard came out and sang one song with them. They were pretty okay. I liked them. It very much felt like, oh, these are guys that like should have broke up 10 years ago, but they're just doing it because they love it at this point, and it's not for fame or anything like that. And I'm like, you know what? I like it. I'll support it. I support that you're like a group of 5 guys that just like to play music together, and Frank still like is tight with you guys and wants you to come with. It was fun. It was kind of nice, especially when they did their little reunion song together, where like the lead singer and Gerard sing a song together, and Gerard does harmonies with them. It was fun. It was just like it felt like 2 friends were singing a song together. So
cool, nice. All right, on to question number 5. Your favorite music video?
There's only one answer, and it's Thriller. Like I mean, I think Michael Jackson will never be topped in the world of music videos. He created movies with every single music video he did, but nothing will ever top Thriller. Thriller, I watch every Halloween. I think John Landis directed a masterpiece that just happens to be soundtracked by Michael Jackson's Thriller. It is an incredible story, great makeup by Rick Baker, incredible choreography that I learned when I was like 9 and can still do. I think it's an incredibly powerful visual aesthetic. So well designed, so well choreographed, so well directed. I think Thriller's video transcends the song to a point where I can't listen to the song and not think of the video anymore. That's the only song ever where the music video is the song now, for me. And I think that just defines it. That's the best music video ever made.
Well, like the whole Vincent Price like narration is like, even part of the song like on the radio, so it's kind of hard to not think about it at all. It's crazy that this video was picked 4th in the video, like the video store music video draft or whatever.
That's nuts. That's 1-1. That's literally pick 1 round 1. Like you're crazy if you don't take it.
Yeah, it's I mean like it's the like I talked about or. On that show in particular, I tended to favor music videos that I hadn't seen before that kind of pushed the bar. And then as I was thinking about it today, it's like, Thriller kind of did all these things so that they could do that. Like it was the first time that a music video really felt like a short film or like a movie, and that they were trying to tell a story within the song. But like this video has been fucking analyzed to death. I feel like every show has at least one like Thriller dance moment where they throw up the arms and whatnot. And I think one of the best shots, one of the best closings, I think just like in film in general, is when he turns around and it's the yellow eyes and you just hear the laughter, and it still gets me watching the video today.
The other thing that always kind of bummed me out is that Michael is actually giving a great acting performance in it. Like he's actually a really solid actor in a way where you're like, he's not trained. He's just a musician who really likes movies and really likes acting and really always wanted to get into it. And that's why he wanted to do Moonwalker. But Moonwalker has no script, so you can't hold it against him.
It has no script.
It has no script. There's like no script for Moonwalker. But like his performance in the Thriller video is great. His performance in a lot of his videos are great. And like you can see it even in his cameo for Men in Black 2, which I think is the best part of Men in Black 2 is his cameo. It's just a great joke. I want to be Agent M. And he's just like so good. And I think the Thriller video is really, it lives and dies on the direction, the creature effects, which like you have Landis and Baker coming off American Werewolf, so they're not going to miss. But you also need, the video would not work if Michael was really bad. If Michael was like a really bad actor, then you would need to recast Michael in it. But Michael was like, no, it's my video, I'm in it. And he's good. And you're like, that he can act that way and give you the facial expressions you need, and to give you that gentle, like, hey, you're like, relationshipy, like boyfriend thing. And like, but also that torture, like, you gotta stay away from me sort of thing. He gives it, he does it. And it's like, it's completely solid, which is crazy for a non-actor like Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
He did The Wiz, and he's good in The Wiz, but like still.
If only more people saw more people saw that, or like that was like that was the defined version of the Wizard of Oz. All right, on
Why
to
Builder
question.
who? Michael Jackson's in the role now.
Yeah. Question number 6. Your favorite musical?
This is, if anyone knows anything about me, the answer is obviously Hamilton. I think it's the greatest piece of art ever made, and I've said this on record many times. I think Lin-Manuel Miranda is the best musical mind of our generation in terms of just writing musicals and songs. He's a great lyricist, a great storyteller. I think he's a phenomenal talent all the way around. He's a good actor. He's a good singer. He's a great rapper. He does incredible things with music. And Hamilton being able to come up with 40 plus songs to tell a sprawling story and to use hip hop to tell the story of people who would probably hate hip hop. And just an incredible thing just to tell the story of our nation with the voice of today and how it was made. And he does that so well through the eyes of a character that of a person not a lot of people know about. And it's incredible theater, and the music is just powerful stuff, like incredible stuff. I always point out my favorite turn of phrase, maybe in a song ever, comes on Washington on Your Side, where it's, I get no satisfaction witnessing his fits of passion, the way he prips and preems and dresses like the pits of fashion. It is the best turn of phrase. All he does is flip the letters, and it is he's a genius. Like I say it a lot. Lin is a genius. What he does with music to tell the story, what he does with lyrics to convey intelligence of characters, how Thomas Jefferson comes into the story with an 80s sort of hip hop inspired jazz song, and by the next song he's out rapping Hamilton because it shows that Thomas Jefferson is just an equal footed genius. They're just diametrically opposed in ideologies. It's incredible stuff. I think this is a perfect musical that will be running for decades. When it came out, we witnessed history. It is one of the greatest, and it will be the new Phantom of the Opera, the new Chicago, the thing that plays forever and ever on Broadway, and it becomes tradition to go see it. It's like Wicked and Les Miserables before it. It's history.
Well, I mean, like you can tell how much work was put into it, and then like even just going back and kind of seeing him play like songs for the first time. Like I remember like on a show, it was on a show or something. What?
In 2009, at Obama's inaugural, his 1 month into his presidency, he held a poetry night and a spoken word night at the White House. Lin came in and played Alexander Hamilton, which he had written 2 days before. So Alexander Hamilton, the first song he wrote for the show was written 2 days before he debuted it for the first time, and he worked on it for about 6 years, and it was not even, when it went to Broadway, it wasn't even finished. It was still being worked on when it was on off Broadway, getting rave reviews. He cut songs from the show going into Broadway. You can find cut songs recorded off the off Broadway live performance on YouTube. He's re-recorded some of those now with different artists and put them on the Hamilton mixtape. There's a plethora of material to go on that doesn't make it, and he's such a genuine human being. He's just such a sharing, giving, caring guy, and also just like such a brilliant mind at work that like this show is the magnum opus of someone who will be working for decades. He's the new Andrew Lloyd Webber. So
yeah, he'll definitely be celebrated, and like you see it throughout his work, whether it's this Moana, the fucking episode of How I Met Your Mother that he did, which I think is like one of the top 5 episodes.
Incredible guest
that to just invade that. But yeah, he captures hip hop and R&B so well. Satisfied used to be my favorite song, but I think Helpless will be my favorite. I just like it's. Philippe Sue is so great in it, yeah. And I love the backing track on it, the piano, and it just hits so well. And I think it's the best song with Lin in it. I think a solid second, or if we're looking just even at the second half, The Room Where It Happens is just this manic, wild song that hits so well.
I think my favorite will always be One Last Time. I think that's the most powerful song in the show. George Washington's always been my favorite historical figure to study about. He's my favorite president. Yeah. And I think that captures the incredible weight of the decision to leave the office after 2 years. Lin really understands it and just gets into the mind of George Washington so well on that song. and what it also means for Alexander Hamilton and what that relationship looks like. And I think that it also really helps that Christopher Jackson, who is like his real life best friend, that he puts in everything, because Christopher Jackson is also just a mega talented actor and singer that has just never gotten his due. He got the Tony nomination because of this role, and he's incredible, and his voice is just they let it off the hook and let him go on this song, and he just delivers. It's in the movie when he does it, and he does the final run, it is the last time he's singing the song. So that is his final bow at the part, and you're watching him just cry at the end, and you're like, because he knows this is the last time he's saying the song. He just said goodbye, and it is an incredible moment to watch in the movie. It kills me every time. It breaks my heart every time that song comes out.
I still get emotional with Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story. In particular, with the Philippa Sue moment, where it's just like when you only had time, and they do like the little key change. I just think that's so effective, and especially how Christopher Jackson works in that song, and that he takes shame and an acknowledgement for how George Washington treated people in that time. And I think I like that earnestness at the end to kind of be aware of what was going on at the time. But yeah, if you somehow haven't seen this, I would highly recommend go checking it out. Even
now that you can watch Hamilton, you can watch the definitive version there will ever be, that there will never be a better version of, with the best cast there will ever be, with the best versions of each character there will ever be. Go to Disney Plus, spend 3 hours, and enjoy yourself. It is the greatest thing. It's the greatest thing ever.
My last question, and only because you said it's the best cast ever, because I know there was a little bit of controversy with Jonathan Groff being brought in for the studio and the movie itself, because I forget the name of the other actor, but it was
Rory
that guy.
O'Malley.
Yeah. So yeah, he was kind of he was like the first guy to do it. And then Jonathan took in. Have you seen any performances with Rory O'Malley in this?
The off-Broadway performer was Brian Darcy James, who is a very famous actor in his own right. Is Broadway's Shrek. He's a great actor. He was the original King George on off-Broadway, and he could not come to Broadway, so they hired Jonathan Groff, and he's the original on-Broadway King George. But Rory O'Malley was doing the part. He was King George the Third. That's the way they do it at the time. And they wanted to have the original cast for the film, so they asked Groff to come back. He made time out of his schedule to do it, and they asked Rory if that was okay. And Rory graciously was like, yes, if you're doing this, it needs to be Groff. He was literally Tony nominated for this. He is iconic. And I'm glad they did it, because he was the only piece missing at that point. He was the only original cast member not with the cast at that time. They filmed it. He got to be part of the final run. And that movie is the end of Lynn's run, Leslie's run, Philippa's run, Chris Jackson's run. A lot of them, that's it. That's the last time that Burr is played by Leslie, that Hamilton's played by Lynn, that Eliza's played by Philippa. I believe not long after David leaves the show, Chris Jackson leaves the show at the same time. I think the last person to ever leave was Peggy. I think she was the last one to go, and she stayed for a full year. And then she left because she was the last one. But it's the best cast. There's like for some parts, it's like I can see people playing that part doing well. I've always thought Donald Glover would make a good Thomas Jefferson. I think he'd be a good one if they ever did like a traditional movie. He would crush that part, maybe even win an Oscar for it. But like, he'll never be better than Daveed Diggs to me. But like, he'd be good at it. But the two people that's like you'll never find an equal placement or an equal replacement to is Leslie and Lynn. They will be those parts forever, and no one can beat it.
Yeah. All right. On to question number 7. You haven't been quiet about this in the past, but just to remind everybody, what is your most overrated actor?
I won't spend too much time on this because I feel like I've hammered this home a lot. Being from Minnesota and saying Prince is overrated is a crime punishable by death.
What? No.
I just don't like Prince as a vocalist. I think he's a bad singer. I also think that he's a shoddy entertainer. I feel like he's a cheap imitation of trying to do what Michael does a lot. He just tries to kind of follow that and make shows like that. He doesn't do great. I will never take away that he's a great guitarist. He is a great guitarist, and he does great stuff with the guitar. And I think that that's something I'll never take away from him. But I just don't think his songs are great. I don't think his performances are great. Every time I see people put him at the top of like the Super Bowl halftime show list, and I think his halftime show is fine. Like outside of it raining during Purple Rain, it's like there's nothing special going on except for the one good song he has, and it's actually raining during it. Like, good job. What the weather
That's
is perfect.
definitely enhanced by like a right place at the right time sort of thing.
Right. Whereas it's like if you're gonna ask me the best performance of all time, Michael Jackson is the better halftime show just for pound performance on performance. So it's like I think it's nuts to say Prince is the best at literally anything. I don't think he's the best guitarist ever. Like I think Jimi Hendrix crushes him. So it's like So it's like I just don't think Prince is the best at literally any category that has ever existed. And for us to put him up there as one of the best ever makes me so confused because I really don't see him being even particularly adequate in a lot of the areas that people call him great at. So I have like one or two songs that he has that I enjoy.
So I don't know the Michael Jackson halftime performance well enough, but I think my favorite halftime performance might still be Lady Gaga's, and that's still like I can't see a person beating that soon unless it's fucking like Dua Lipa. But Prince is an incredible guitarist, but I think something that would be fair to say because like Prince and Michael Jackson are kind of obviously compared quite a bit. It's something that I've realized with Prince's songs is that he will have one sort of idea for a song and then let that stick, whereas Michael more times than not is like, here's an idea that I want to change into this, or I want to transition into this. The example that I use the example that I use for this is "Let's Go Crazy." I think that song is like it just rides kind of on that one riff. It has a really cool intro, but I think there was chances there to kind of spruce it up a little bit, and then he kind of just stayed with that because that one riff was so catchy. But yeah, I can't necessarily say that you're wrong for thinking this either. There's definitely an angle that you have, and like maybe obviously probably gets more praise given where you're from, so it's a little more elevated than the rest. But yeah,
it's a lot. Yeah. When everyone was like, "Oh, the Minneapolis Miracle," and there's the photoshopped image of Prince's ghost tripping, the fucking Saints player. I was like, I'm like, get over yourselves. Like, I hate the Saints sometimes.
Anyway. I mean, you can come up to Canada, I think.
I don't know if that's a better option, but all right.
I mean, after a little while you'd get like free healthcare, like you wouldn't have to pay a ton to go to the hospital. Nice, yeah. All right, on to question number 8, and a great answer. But what's your favorite score?
My favorite score of all time is Justin Hurwitz's score for La La Land, which is my favorite film of all time. I think there are many scores that I could have picked. I could have picked Hans Zimmer's score for Pirates of the Caribbean. There's Henry Mancini's score for The Pink Panther. I think there are incredible scores that stay with me that I love, but La La Land by Justin Hurwitz is the most complete piece of music put to a film for me that just gives me so much emotion just listening to it. Me and Sebastian's theme is the most beautiful thing. I love the jazzy piano scores. I love when we get into like Herman's Habit where you have the brass. I love the epic strings that he uses. It feels like a classic Hollywood score without being any sort of derivative of any of them. It is championing film. It is moving. It makes you feel like you can fly. It makes you want to be in love. It is truly the most impressive film score to me. It is my favorite. I adore it.
Yeah, I remember watching this for the first time because this had been kind of like on the Oscar run, and people were like, "Man, this is unreal." And then watching it, and it's like, I know this gets a lot of praise, but it's right. It's deservedly so. Jake actually had this on his favorite musical. So it's nice that this came up again. I think why the score in particular works so well. I think the signature kind of line of like City of Stars, just that melody riff is hit so well because it starts out so simple, but the chord structure in it lets it kind of like twit or like kind of like graciously fall down into itself. And it's a cool kind of like lean into like the jazz side of it, but while also keeping it casual enough to listen to. I think I think like the planetarium and like summer montage in particular, like where they just like they really kind of add in the horns and they get the hustle and bustle of it all. But I agree, like the charm that this has in this movie and the love letter that it has to like that era of films. I think he hits the nail on the head with this. And now being able to check out those films and kind of see the inspiration, it's like, yeah, like this just gets better and more accurate the more older films that I tend to watch.
Definitely. Yeah. No, it's great.
All right. On to question number 9. Your favorite soundtrack.
So Ben Spisek and Justin Paul are songwriters I love a lot. I think that now they've started to fall into a pattern of sameness, but the sameness is still good. They've done things like Dear Evan Hansen, they do La La Land, they do Spirited most recently, and they work for Disney a lot. But I think their magnum opus, their best collection of songs they've ever written for one thing is The Greatest Showman, and it is my favorite soundtrack. I think that this... I think if you don't like the movie, fine, but you can't deny that this is a no-skip soundtrack. From The Greatest Show all the way to From Now On. I think every song in it has its own beautiful story to tell. It's powerful. The music is incredible. I think the lyrics just work so well. I think even if you try and tell me you want to skip Come Alive, I'll tell you to fuck right off because I think Come Alive is an absolute banger. I think everything on this album is just great, and it all embodies the spirit of the movie so well to the point where it takes over the movie. The story itself doesn't matter anymore. The music tells the story. You could almost make you could cut every scene of dialogue and make this an opera and let Ben Spisek and Justin Paul write 5 or 6 more songs, and it would probably be a perfect movie to me. I think it's just incredible stuff. Great soundtrack.
So yeah, I did just the soundtrack for this one, and man, it starts off fucking unreal. The Greatest Show is one of the best songs, and I completely understand why you pick this because this is like heavy Brendan Urie, Patrick Stump
which
vibes.
Is why The Greatest Showman Revisited whatever album has the best opener of all time because they had let Panic at the Disco cover The Greatest Show and it was awesome. So
whoa, man, okay, I have to go check that out after. But yeah, this is. Like I agree in that most of these are fucking bangers. The other side is Come Alive is not the one that I would skip. I actually found Rewrite the Stars was my least favorite. Rewrite the Stars is just it's a little bit too generic. And my one like main gripe with this soundtrack, and it's more so it's because it's a product of 2017 and kind of the trends that were happening at that time. Like this era of pop is so saturated with synth, like even more so than the 80s, that it got to a point where I think it's Rewrite the Stars that does it, where it got to a point where like adding in guitar as like a loop or a sample was like a trendy thing to do. So when I hear that and like even the guitar is heavily affected, and it's just like it doesn't quite hit as well. A lot of the songs kind of hit 4 chord, hit the same 4 chords. But I kind of let that pass because everything was pretty catchy so far. I really like Zac Efron in it. I don't know how to feel about Hugh Jackman's voice. It's really good, but it's like it sounded almost like too operatic given the story or given the context of it all, or like compared to everybody else. But yeah, no, very glad to check it out. A surprisingly great song to go to on a run, or a great album to go to on a run. But your last song, your favorite song to perform or sing.
There are many that I do at karaoke. I'm a karaoke regular to the point where I'm very well known for it. I'm part of a group of people who go every week, and like it's become like our thing, and we're now known for that thing. And one of the ones that I really love to do is All of Me by John Legend. I love singing that one. That song just moves me. It's very special to me for personal reasons. I connect the song very much to a very special person in my life. And every time I sing it, I think of them I get lost in it. So I think the song is really, really fun to sing. I actually change it a little bit. I do a little bit of a different thing. There's a lot of times where he goes down and kind of twirls in a spiral. And instead I go up. I'll go up with it. So it's like,
okay.
So it's hard to do without music. It'd be more like you give me all of you. Oh.
Okay.
And I put a little like going up spin on it instead. That's terrible and probably the worst I've ever done it. But it gives you an idea of what I try to do. But I have fun with it. I like the song.
Kaleb, you have a really good music taste. You have shown me two incredible songs and really have gotten me to appreciate Michael Jackson. I fucking hate this song. I'm really sorry. This song got overplayed to fuck on radios. So I heard it like twice an hour at times. And I think it's a gripe that I have with these kind of like song and piano, like these just piano and voice songs. They have a tendency to kind of sound unfinished, and if you're going to go that route, it kind of has to be fucking flawless. And I just don't think he quite hits that with the bridge. I like hearing that you kind of change it up a little bit to give it a fresh spin. But like I think just hearing the chorus of it gets grating at time. Like all of me loves all of you, love your curves and all your edges, all your perfect imperfections. It's just like it's cheesy and kind of the wrong. It's cheesy in like the kind of the weird ways. Like almost kind of like Russell Wilson having like kind of like the stepdad vibe. That's the kind of vibe that I get from this.
I don't know. I really enjoy. I don't know. I really love the lyricism of that. I think that it may be plainly stated, but I think it comes from a place of really genuine love. When you really care about someone that deeply, like the song feels, then it's like the cheesy just is. It just is how it feels. So like I think it's maybe not the most eloquently written thing, but I think it's honest, and that's why I think I really like singing it.
All right, that is going to end the show or end the official list of the show. I always like to give 2 extra questions afterwards. Okay. Number 1, who are you listening to right now that people need to check out? And secondly, who are some people that you would like to see on the show?
So who I'm listening to right now is really boring. I haven't been listening to music very much lately. I've been listening to podcasts. I've been really like back on a Blank Check kick. So if you're in a podcast, check out the Blank Check with Griffin and David podcast. It's like the best movie podcast you're ever going to listen to. They go through filmographies and it's great. They're doing Danny Boyle right now, so that's a lot of fun. But otherwise, the music kick I started on is I'm going through all my summer playlists again. So I've been kind of going through some of my Demi Lovato's classic bangers from them and. Yeah, so I've sort of hit those. I've hit Panic at the Disco a lot again and some MCR again. John Bellion's back in the rotation. I can't wait till he drops the music.
Oh man, yeah. He pops up every now and then at work, and it's like, oh yeah, that's
another person where it's like if I could give a Michael Jackson album to 2 people, I'd give it to John Bellion and Phineas O'Connell because they just are such great, distinct sounding producers, and I would love to hear what they do with a Michael Jackson song. So,
yeah. And then anybody that you think would be a good fit for this show.
A person that I would love to see do this is I would love to see Kaleb Koho on. I don't know if he's ever been on. I think Kaleb Koho would be great at this.
He hasn't been on, but I
think Kaleb Koho would be really interesting because that man is a grandfather when it comes to taste. So it'd be fun.
Yeah. The Elvis conversation would probably get a little interesting. But yeah, thank you for coming on. Next week it'll be somebody else. But yeah, cheers, guys, and as always, drive safely.